Hi guys, and thanks for watching. Today we're going to talk about a part of our power system out at the camp. And a few years ago I picked up this 15 kilowatt generator from a Army surplus place. And if you want to shoot a picture of that, Simon, thanks. Simon's my new cameraman, so we'll get him up to speed here. So I'm taking advantage of him while he's around. So anyway,
diesel generator.
Yeah, so this is one of the components to our power system here at the camp, and I'm going to shoot another video on our solar system too, so look forward to that one coming. But I want to talk about the generator here more specifically this time, so just kind of some of the history, and then some of the disappointment now I have, because I bought it from online from what used to be governmentsurplus.com, and now I don't know where or how the logistics of all those things work over the years, but that site is no longer operating. It's now under, I think, godov.com, but since they transitioned from government surplus to godov.com, they got rid of a lot of the stuff that I was interested in, like generators, air compressors, diesel engines, pumps, things like that. So in some of my other videos I talked about a hot diesel that I put on a log splitter. That actually came from the same place, so that was off of a pump, and the engine didn't run, so the rings were bad at it, and then I put new piston rings on. But anyway, a lot of this stuff was I'm not sure if it was supposed to be defective or what. There wasn't a lot of description on it. It was just kind of, you bid on it and the highest bidder wins, yeah, I don't think it was ever a buy it now. These particular ones were a sealed bid at the time, so you actually had to just submit your highest offer, and then whatever happened, instead of bidding it up kind of like you would on eBay. So I think at the time there was about a dozen of them for sale. I put in a bid on, I actually picked out the one that had a dent in the frame, which was over here. I kind of straightened it, but this had a pretty good bend in it where something landed on it, and I thought, well, you had some really nice looking other ones, and I thought, well, let me bid on the one that was beat up, because it's more likely I'm going to get it, and I happened to. So I bid I think it was $2,100 for this, and then by the time you pay taxes and fees and everything, it was about $2,600 out the door. So I was pretty happy with it. There's a sticker on here. You can't really read it if you want to. I don't know if that will show up on there or not, but it's kind of,
It doesn't really show.
No, it's coming off. But it used to say at the time the government bought them, there was 22 of them. They're, I think, $16,000 a piece. So that's kind of your taxpayers' money at work, and then it's nice that we actually get an opportunity to repurpose this stuff. Yeah, so there isn't a whole lot of information about it. I do know it's 15 kilowatts. You know, getting back to, did it have some problems? When I first got it, I didn't really notice any. I basically just put fuel and oil in it, and it started up and ran, had power, so I was pretty happy that I didn't have to do anything with it. But then, as we ran it for a while, we found out that the oil level was increasing, which was kind of an odd sign. And then you could smell what smelled like either diesel fuel or almost like some sort of fuel in there, which could only be diesel. And then so that was kind of a bummer. It ran good and everything, but with that oil level filling up, we eventually had to keep changing or dumping the oil level and then change the oil because it was getting thin. So what I ended up finding out what it was I believe it was this cylinder right here. That this is a 32 horsepower Isuzu diesel, inline 4, and I think it was either this one or these two. I ended up tightening up the nozzle holders on here. That was just loose enough to where it was leaking by when the engine was running. So the injector was trying to inject fuel in the cylinders. It was leaking past the nozzle and then going in the crankcase. So thank goodness it was easy fix. Just tighten those up, and now it's running on all 4 cylinders, which you couldn't even really tell at the time. The other 3 were fine, but so that was really the only problem I've noticed. But then we haven't ran it that much anyway. So let me just go through a quick rest of this. This has a Diesel-matic, I guess. I don't know a lot about this stuff. I'm sure you guys may know more about this than I do, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit I know about it. So this is an engine priming fuel system, which is essentially ether, the best I can tell, and it has a little solenoid, and it can inject ether in there, which is a mystery to me a little bit because this is a glow plug engine. Glow plugs are up on the top here behind the actual injectors, and generally you don't want to run glow plugs and ether at the same time, because you can get a, or at least when you're spraying it in the intake, if you spray ether in there and run glow plugs, it can come back and kind of backfire through the intake. So I'm not sure how they accomplish it here, and I haven't traced out the lines. I know it works because when the temperatures, we started in the winter one time, and you could smell the ether after it injected it. Of course, started right up at the time, but I don't know if it's, yeah, I just don't know how where they're injecting the ether at, and but they're using a combination of ether and glow plugs, which makes it a great combination for the cold weather starting. So anyway, we put fresh oil in it last year. I haven't started it for about a year. I just dropped a battery in so we can crank it up here and see if it's going to start. Just try and run it a little bit, and we don't use it a whole lot. I'm trying to think what was in here. Oh, there is some sort of paperwork in here apparently that the government took care of the documentation. I haven't really opened that up. There's no manual in there though. I kind of wish there was. This unit is actually made, to the best that I can find, it's a Magnum generator, 15 kilowatt. I believe it was built in Wisconsin or Minnesota, one of the two, in around 2005. So anyway, so that's a little bit about what the history is as far as I know so far. It's got a pretty good enclosure, sound case enclosure, and we'll run it. We'll get some levels on noise here once we get it up and running, but it's not as quiet as probably your Honda inverter style or even the Harbor Freight ones, but it's not bad. It's definitely not like the rattly 3600 RPM generators that we've grown to know over the years in the 80s and 90s. So it's a little bit better than that, but it's not the ultra quiet ones. So this has a Magna Plus alternator head on it, and what's really unusual about this, I thought, is that being it's rated for 15 kilowatt, not sure why, but it looks like they have a 65 kilowatt generator head on there. There's two different ratings. I don't know if that's for, one's probably continuous and one's intermittent. So intermittent, it's a little bit higher, and continuous, it's I think 60, was it 63, the lower one? This one down here is what, 60? I can't read it.
It's 85, and then yeah, 85.
What's this number here?
65.
Oh, so 65 and 85, okay, but obviously we don't have enough horsepower to make that kind of power, so
I don't know, it's hard for the camera to see it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The point is that it's a way oversized alternator head, generator head, or whatever you want to call it. Again, my terminology may not be the best, but I'll try and give you the best knowledge I have, so you experts out there can correct me. But why is there a 65 or 85 kilowatt head on a 32 horsepower engine? I don't know. I think it's probably has something to do with maybe it's a THD. Again, I'm just kind of conjecture on my part. The larger the alternator head is probably the less harmonic distortion they have, and more ability to maintain a set frequency. So I'm guessing that's the only reason why, or maybe it's longevity, I don't know. But so anyway, they oversized the alternator on this, which makes it obviously a lot heavier unit too. I think the whole thing weighs about 2,000 pounds, and we just set it in place with a loader here. But they also have a external fuel pump, so you can hook this up and run it through an external tank instead of the onboard tank. I think from the literature I found, the onboard tank is supposed to be like 20 some gallons, or it's the one from Magnum actually has a bigger tank than the military version here, and I don't know why that is, because I was only able to put about less than that, and I can't remember what it was. I want to say somewhere between 12 and 15 gallons maybe. And it's just been a while, so I kind of forgot about that. But anyway, it can run the external tank. Haven't tried to run it. Don't know if it works. It may not. So that's that part of it. Fuel cap here, I keep it locked, obviously, so somebody doesn't put sand or something in it, or sugar or something that causes more problems. Let me get this closed up. Okay. Back over to this side. So here's where your electrical connections are and kind of the status is. Kind of, again, go through a few things on here. I'm not going to do this in depth, but this generator is a... Oh, I never even noticed that the light will come on when you open it. So I believe this is actually a three-phase connection. Of course, if you go across two of these, so here's a wiring diagram, which is a Y pattern, and you can run across from the different legs to neutral to get 120 volts, or across the different legs to get I guess 208 volt. But I don't know if you can use all three of those to get three phase or not. It doesn't matter because we don't have anything three phase anyway. But you can tell where the unit was set up, or could be set up for delta. I think that's one of these might be a delta wiring. And again, I don't want to get too much into that because first of all, I'm not an electrical guy, so heard about those things. But again, this is something I'm not going to be using much. Here's your main output connections that we're interested in. It has the two twist locks for 50 amps and two breakers on each of those. You got your 20 amp receptacles on a GFI. They worked prior, and I haven't used them for a couple of years. Looks like this is the frequency adjust to speed the motor up and down, or speed it up and slow it down. This here's kind of your panel board here. If you put it in, this will just give you an idea of how much fuel. It has fuel gauge, oil pressure. So we have, this is engine temperature, I believe, so we're about 45 degrees outside. I don't know why voltage is reading 22 volts, only 12 volt battery in there, so can't explain that one. And then you can cycle through the different, so that's 2,657 hours, which I consider that to be fairly low. And then I'm not sure what else this all does. I know you can reset the service interval and things like that, so I'm not going to play around with that too much more now. But you got your, this is your pressure differential indication across your air filter. When it's running, if that turns red, then you need to, I think it turns red, or at least maybe it just goes up into the higher readings there. Then you just got to change your air filter, which shouldn't be too big of a problem here because we don't have a lot of dust in there and we're not running it that much. Here's your rating panel. We have, okay, so it's a little less than 2,000 pounds, 1,700. Runs 1,800 RPM, of course, which helps with our longevity. Single phase, 15 kilowatt. Okay, so it does, possibly does three phase at 23 kilovolt amps, which is similar to kilowatt, but well, at 480 volts, so in which it said it's not wired to do 480, it's only wired to do 208. So again, I'm not real sure on all that stuff, but one other neat thing I want to talk about here, this has a remote start option, and if you hook up to these terminals here, or you just close that, put them on a switch and close it, they'll start the generator remotely. So you just have to have the switch in the remote start position, then you can close the switch across these, run that wire inside the building, and then you can start and stop it remotely, which is kind of a neat feature too. So and then the solar, when I talk about the solar, I'm not sure what order I'm going to post these on there, but when I talk about the solar system, we'll talk about the inverter and how the inverter actually has an option to start this generator remotely too, which is kind of neat. So anyway, we'll fire this up and give it a little spin here and see what happens. So hopefully it'll start. So we're just going to put it in the local start here. We're going to close the doors, and as you notice, I'm a big fan of safety glasses, and maybe because you only get one set of eyes. Oops, actually I'll leave that open to start it. I wanted to close this one, and we'll leave this one open. So to start this up, we just click this down, and it'll go through its sequence. It should light up the panel, at least it used to, and should run the glow plugs for a few seconds, and then possibly inject ether if the temperature is at the set point to require ether. I'm not sure what it is on this machine, so let's go ahead and get a shot of this screen here, and then click that down. So glow plugs on, and eventually it is gonna crank over. So as you can tell, it's not the super duper quiet version, but it's not bad. Obviously, I hope you can hear me. We'll see when we go back. Hopefully the sound is good enough, but it's not too bad. I did bring a sound meter too, so we'll get an idea what it's running at. Of course, this is under no load, so. Let's come over here by the exhaust. Maybe about 6 or 8 feet away from the exhaust, and when I stop talking, about 73.5 decibels. So not too bad, definitely something you can tolerate. It's not too bad inside the building. But yeah, good reliable unit. We'll let her run here for a few minutes. But I really haven't put anything on it to justify having the 15 kilowatts. So some of this stems back to, you know, I didn't pick a 15 kilowatt generator just because I wanted a 15 kilowatt generator, because we don't necessarily need that kind of power, but that was available on the website at the time, and I thought if it was repairable or wasn't in too bad a condition, might as well get something that's as big as we could. But what it boiled down to is what was available. So the other nice advantage of it, of course, is being diesel, and my experience with that is we've had equipment out here that we've kept fuel in it for, I hate to say it, 20 or 30 years, and it's still running on that same fuel yet, and it still starts and runs great. So I'm sure there's people out there that say that you wouldn't want to do that, and I can understand that argument, but the fact is you really aren't going to do that with a gasoline powered anything. But the diesel stuff just keeps that reliability there, and it gives you that kind of that assurance over the years that you're not going to have as many fuel problems. So of course with diesel you get water in it, you can grow bacteria, filters can plug, things like that, but again, you just don't have those issues like you do with the gasoline. Fuel injection is going to obviously make that better over the years, but as long as carbureted things still exist, you're going to be fighting fuel issues. So okay, so that's all I wanted to pass along. So hopefully, I know there's some other military generators are similar to these newer ones. I think they're actually a little bit quieter, and I've seen some people pick up some really nice ones with very low hours on them, and got some really good deals. So I don't know what website may be having those now, but again, this was governmentliquidation.com a few years ago, and I haven't found a website since to offer similar things, but I'm sure they're out there. Somebody's buying them, somebody's picking them up used from the military and selling them. And I guess if you're really interested, you should be able to find something out there on the internet. So thanks for watching. Like I said, if you got any questions, put them below, and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Thanks.